Hello and welcome to this instructional video on CATIA prismatic machining. We're progressing along machining the second setup in the example part. We've just added a pocketing operation and we've looked at approaches and retracts for pocketing. What we're going to do now is we're going to add some additional pockets. If you recall, the pocket that you first did was the top pocket here on the left side of the part. What we're going to do is we're going to now add the pocket that's below it, which is very similar. One difference though is that there is an island here which you have to avoid with the toolpath. So there is an additional piece of geometry that one needs to select. Other than that, the other things that you set for the first pocket, the pocket above it, things like your step over for your radial, step over your axial depth of cut, the lead-ins and lead-outs, the approaches and retracts, the cutting tool and so on, those should be the same. So I'm going to, as I did with the profiling and facing operation, I'm going to let you take a crack at that first, and then once you're done with that, you can come back and look at what I've follow along just to see what I have done. There are a few things that I'll show you that will help speed things up. So please go ahead and start working on that second pocket. Okay, I hope that went well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second pocket. I'm going to show you a few tricks that you probably be upset that I didn't show you before, just to speed things up. So one thing that you can do is you can copy operations. So we have a pocketing operation here. Let's go ahead and right click and copy, and then I'm going to just go ahead and paste it right below. So if I highlight, paste, so I now have a second pocketing operation. Obviously it's exactly the same as the first right now, but it gives me something to modify. So rather than building a pocketing operation from scratch, I can go ahead and modify an old one. And in this case, because that pocket is directly below the one above it and uses a lot of the same geometry, I save a lot of time in approaching it this way. So let's go ahead and double click on the copy. And let's go to our geometry tab. So what is different in the geometry tab? So, well, there are a few things that are different. First of all, the top of the second pocket is really the bottom of the first pocket. So we have to change that. And also the bottom is no longer the top of the island here. It's actually the bottom as we see it here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and remove, right click remove, and then reselect the top. And then I'm going to right click remove, and I'm going to reselect the bottom. Now notice that in reselecting the bottom, it also selected the island, which may actually be correct in this case. So it says an island here has been picked, island 1. So we've solved that problem too, the problem of selecting the island by reselecting the bottom. So we're done with our geometry. Let's move over to our tool. We shouldn't have to change anything here since we just copied the previous pocketing operation, nor should we have to change anything here with our speeds and feeds. With regards to the retracts, again, since we copied the operation, everything that we set previously is as it was there. We may need to come in and play around with some of the ones that haven't been set, but let's generate the toolpaths first and look at it before we start doing that. And then also too, for our toolpath strategy, we're going to stick with what we've defined for the first pocketing operation. So outward helical, we're going to use the same radial step over strategy, 25% overlap. Axial, we're going to go down 50,000, so to 21 levels. And for finishing, this is one place where we do have to change because we do want to finish the side for sure, but we also want to, in this case, finish the bottom. So let's go ahead and switch this from side finish last level to side finish at last level on the bottom. And we're going to leave 10 thousandths on the bottom for finishing. So let's go ahead and generate the toolpaths and let's see what we've got. So we should expect to see that we are machining around this island, which is correct. And we are machining from the top here, which is the top of the island, down to the bottom. So let's go to our plane by plane replay, and let's rewind just to kind of see how things get going. So this is the move from the last retract of the first operation to the start of the approach. And we see that we have a helical approach. That's still there. And then a really interesting looking toolpath. Again, sometimes the toolpath generation looks a little bit strange. So the tool is doing some really strange moves in here. Doesn't mean that the result is not going to be correct. And then it does this repositioning move to this side of the part. There's some other toolpaths. And as you can see, again, there are these strange looking toolpaths. So these repositioning moves are concerning me a bit because the tool is jumping around quite a bit. And again, the toolpaths look somewhat strange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK here, and I'm going to see if I can come up with something that looks a little bit better and where the tool is more consistently down and not jumping around so much. And the best way one of the ways to do that is to change your percentage of tool diameter where the tool is in overlap. So right now we're in 25%. We can either reduce that or increase it and see if that improves the way the toolpaths look and reduces the amount of jumping around that the tool has to do. So I'm going to bump this up to 35%. So I'm having a little bit more of an overlap. And let's go ahead and generate the toolpaths. So this immediately looks a lot better because I'm not seeing that motion, that red repositioning motion, or a lot of those where the tool was jumping from this side of the part to this. So let's go back to plane by plane replay. And let's step through. So you can see now that the tool is pretty much doing a full connected region, whereas before it was doing those strain toolpaths over here, lifting up and jumping over and coming down on this side and doing more toolpaths. So it's reduced the amount of repositioning. So that's a really good sign. We can see here's the lead-in, which is again a helical lead-in, so following what was done in the first pocketing operation. We see the tool retracting, repositioning, helical lead-in for the next pass, and so on. So this continues all the way down to the bottom. So let's see what happens. So I've done a replay all the way to the bottom, and then I'm going to back up one level just to see what's going on the finishing pass. So there's a finishing pass here on the island. So when we say finishing, the finishing also applies to the island too. And this here is our approach. Here is our final retract, which is a circular lead out and then a retract up to the top of the part. And if we back up some more, we see this being the repositioning move. So this is the actual move approach into the finishing pass on the outer profile. And then this here is the retract, the rapid over, and then the approach move to the part of the finishing profile that goes around the island. So that looks okay. We will check it, of course, with material removal to make sure that the cutter, it doesn't look like it is, but that the cutter, when it does this rapid move here, isn't slamming into the wall of the part. And then we back up one more. This here shows the approach to finishing the bottom. So again, this here shows this is the approach for this pass. And then when it's done, the retract rapid, and then this is the approach to the finishing pass. Here, this finishing pass. So it looks like things are happening as we expect it to. So again, this is the lift up, move over, helical, circular approach, and then we're doing the bottom. And then this is the rapid up, rapid out, so they retract, rapid out, helical lead in, circular lead in onto the pass on the outside. And then when we're done with the pass on the outside, this is the retract move, rapid over, helical approach, circular approach, and then the finishing pass on the island. And here's the lead out, circular lead out, and then the final retract to the top of the part. So you do need to spend time looking at your tool paths, and again, I think the plane by plane option is really a great way of helping you visualize what is happening to make sure that the tool is doing what you want it to do. So again, if we go to the roughing passes, we see that here's your lead in, the green is your cutting. This is the tool where it stops at the end of the pass, and then there should be a retract move. Here it is, and then the repositioning, and then it's repositioning for the finishing pass. And then between roughing moves, what we'd expect to see is a retract, a rapid, slight rapid down, and then a helical approach move. And then the actual machining of the pass. So let's go ahead and simulate material. So let's change our replay mode to continuous. Let's go ahead and click on our replay. Let's go ahead and run right through. Let's see if we can stop it after the first pocket. So we can, here I stopped it there. You can actually see the helical lead-in, the effect of the helical lead-in, the type of surface that's generated as the tool moves in. Slow it down a bit. Okay, so here we go. We've just started the second pocket. You can see the finishing material that's being left here. Because remember, we finished the top pocket, so this is 10 thousandths thick. That's what's being left there to be finished. Again, you can see that's helical lead-in there, the effect of the helical lead-in. And there's our finishing pass. So again, we can see in this case that there was no obvious collision between the tool and the work that left a gouge mark. Again, we've been following the rules that I said, which is to make sure that your helical depth is greater than your depth of cut. Again, we're using 25 thousandths in excess to make sure that we break the tool or slow the tool down from rapid to the approach rate before the tool hits the interface of the material. So let's hit OK, and your tree now should have both of those pocketing operations, one on top of the other, following the profiling operation. So in our next videos, we will start looking at how to machine some of the pockets on this side of the part, some of which are open pockets, which present slightly different selections over a closed pocket. Do save your file before you move ahead.